Well, hello everybody. Mike Buto, Mr. Marathon, and our Out and About Marathon series now is really hitting home with Mr. Henry Flagler when the first train came down in 1912. And we're going to have a little good conversation here with Mr. Flagler, and this goes back into time, back into history, telling us all about all the neat things with the East Coast Railroad. And
Very good.
Flagler, glad to have you on.
I am glad to be in Marathon. Yes.
Well, tell us, give us a little bit of history about how you got this direction, like into Miami and then further down the Key.
Well, actually, I first came to St. Augustine around 1883, and I thought it was very interesting. I really liked St. Augustine, but I thought it needed some more development. It wasn't fully developed, and being the capitalist that I am, I said, well, that's an opportunity for me to develop a beautiful city and make some money out of it. So my railroad actually started in Jacksonville, South Jacksonville, and first came to St. Augustine, where I built 2 wonderful hotels, and I acquired a 3rd hotel. And then I started thinking, well, what about if I went further down the east coast of Florida? So I went down to Daytona, and from Daytona I went to Poinciana and built the Royal Poinciana Hotel. And that's really about as far as I wanted to go. But then I was contacted by Mrs. Julia D. Tuttle, and she said, well, why don't you come to Miami? And I more or less told her in no uncertain words, leave me alone. You're pestering me and I don't want to hear from you anymore. You know, but fortunately for Mrs. Tuttle, and eventually for myself, really, there was a very hard freeze in north and central Florida, so I said, well, she pointed out to me that Miami had been not touched by the cold weather, so I said, well, all right, maybe I'll consider this, and I had one of my representatives, you know, do a check and everything on Mrs. Tuttle, and after a while I said, well, all right, I'll extend my railway to Miami. And again, that was about as far as I wanted to go. I mean, that was from Jacksonville to Miami was a lot of railroad.
Oh yeah, it's a long distance.
Yes, but then at the age of 74, something clicked, and I said, well, wouldn't it be a great thing to build a railroad over the Florida Keys from Miami to Key West? Now, I will tell you, many of my friends kind of thought I was a little out of my mind. They even called it Flagler's folly, because you don't just build a railroad over 156 miles of open ocean. But you see, I'm Henry Flagler. And when I make a mind to do something, I'll always find a way. So I put my money to work, and it took 7 years and 9 months to complete. And I arrived on my private railroad car in Key West on January 22nd, 1912, in my private railroad car in Key West at 10:43 a.m. And it was quite a celebration with 10,000 people at hand to see my, you know, my wonderful railroad. And now some people ask me, well, where did you make your money? Most people seem to think I made it on the railroad. Now, the railroad, I spent money. See, that was the second half of my life, basically. The first half of my life, I spent making money. And I was originally in the grain business. Through the grain business, I met this man who you might have heard of called John D. Rockefeller. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, very good. And we knew each other from the grain business, and then around 1867, Rockefeller decided to go into this oil business. Nobody really knew what oil was. It was a nuisance product to begin with, because farmers had it in their fields and said, oh, God, how do I get rid of this stuff? I mean, they didn't know, you know, that it would bring riches. But eventually Mr. Rockefeller hired me to work for his company, and on January 11th, 1870, Standard Oil became reality. And as they said, the rest is all history. Over the next several years, by the next 15 years, I devoted my time to Standard Oil and making money, and we were quite a large company. But then, as I said before, around 1883, I came to St. Augustine. So while I say that I spent the first half of my life, you know, making money with Standard Oil, and the second half of my life spending money, I had no problem spending money. As a matter of fact, one of the greatest joys that I have had in my life is that putting people to work. And I pay them better than the normal wage. I mean, I will tell you, when I built the Royal Poinciana Hotel in Poinciana, wanting the best performance for my workmen, I pay them $1.50 to $2.25 a day, when the norm was $1.10 per day. So I did this altruistically, but I also did it because I'm a good businessman, and I figured if I pay my workers a little bit more, they'll want to stay with me and work harder. So that's what I've done.
Great success.
Oh, I obviously love the state of Florida. I mean, this is my home.
Well, and you also built, didn't you build the hotel, the Breakers Hotel in West Palm Beach?
Yes, I did.
Part of that?
I built the Breakers Hotel. It opened in 1894. And unfortunately, in 1903, it was destroyed by fire, but it took 3 years to rebuild. And so it's quite a place. I understand that the Breakers is not the same hotel it was that I built.
Sure.
But it's really a shame because it really is quite a structure.
Oh, it's huge.
Now, when you mention the hotel, again, the first hotel I built was called the Royal Poinciana in St. Augustine. It took about 3 years to build it. For your information, I had this kind of unknown electrician do the electricity for the hotel. Your people might have heard of him, named Thomas Edison. Yeah,
Yes.
And the glass work was all done by someone named Louis Comfort Tiffany, and I don't know whether your people have heard of him, but he's made a big business out of what's called Tiffany glass, and it is quite a structure. It's 540 rooms, and it's like an old Spanish villa type thing, and it's. I'm very proud to say that my guests seem to like it a lot, so that's good because. I love my guests to stay there because that brings money, and
sure.
And I don't want to sound selfish or anything, but I like it when people give me money because that makes me rich.
Yes,
right.
What kind of relationship did you have with Julia Tullow when she got you to come down? And I know they were doing all the orange groves and the grapevines and everything to ship all of that north. But a lot of property was purchased in.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
On one side, and you were on the other.
That's correct. Well, the state of Florida at the time was very good about. There was a lot of vacant land, so basically for every mile of track that I agreed to put down, they would give me something like 10,000 acres of property.
Whoa!
So I said, well, now it was all swampland, but I thought, well, 10,000 acres is a lot of property, and I figured one day it'll be worth a lot of money.
Oh, sure.
And again, I like money, right?
You're a smart man.
Yes, I try to think I am. I haven't always made the right decisions, but initially around the time of the war between the states, or the Civil War, because I'm originally from New York, so I called it the Civil War. And I thought I invested in the salt business. I heard that was a very good thing. I moved my family to Saginaw, Michigan, and it was very successful for about 2 or 3 years. But then, unfortunately, the Civil War ended, and the bottom dropped out of the salt market. So actually, I lost $50,000, which was a sizable amount of money. And that's when I eventually went to work for Mr. Rockefeller. So let me say that I recouped my $50,000 several times over.
Many times.
Anyway, I don't want to tell you how rich I am because, well, you would think I stay home and count my money all the time. That's why I have my banker take care of that, right?
Exactly.
But yes.
Well, just the whole idea of coming across the swampland, the marshes, down to Key West, and of course the famous 7 Mile Bridge.
Yes, I love that bridge. Isn't that wonderful?
Isn't
that crazy? Yes,
yes, and that had to be a trip going across the bridge, just on the track. Here's the train, and you can look on both sides, the Gulf and the Atlantic.
That's correct.
See the fish, see the weather, whatever it might be.
Oh, it's
travel across, and engineers did a phenomenal job.
My engineers were phenomenal. Now, originally my engineers again thought it was kind of you don't build a railroad over ocean. But see, then they quickly understood that, when I make up my mind to do something, I will always find a way to do it. And they appreciate it. And I believe my workers really liked working for me. The railroad was originally supposed to be finished in Key West, I believe, in 1913. And now, of course, being January 22nd, 1912, I'm very happy to say that we got it done a year ahead of time.
Well, it's just an amazing feat, again, to come over all that water.
That's correct.
And of course, to fight the lousy weather, storms, you name it.
Storms, hurricanes, right.
All the above. And,
right.
You know, and then, of course, you know, Pigeon Key, taking it to
Oh.
the island and then heading out. You had a great campsite on Pigeon Key.
Yes, well, that's my superintendent's cottage is, and you know, my superintendent, Joseph Parrott, stayed the Joseph R.
Right.
Parrott, and actually there was also Joseph, by the same name, Joseph Meredith, and they were my two chief guys.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's just, you know, it's very, very interesting, the whole scenario.
Thank you.
From point A to point B.
Thank you very
and,
much.
You know, and it's nice to have you here in Marathon.
Thank you
and
very
I know we're
much.
Going back into history, and
Right.
it's really
well, for me, it's
an exciting event.
Well, for me, this is 1912, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to make, you know, I am 83 years old, or 82 years old, and I just wanted to make sure that I was, you know.
It is, and you are here.
Oh, thank you very much. This
here.
is wonderful. This is really a wonderful city. I love Marathon. And,
Oh, that's
you
great.
know, I went over all the bridges and my railroad, and
Oh,
it,
yeah.
it was yes. I took 7 years and 9 months to complete. It's
Well, we're going to go down and create a marathon, huh?
that's right. Absolutely. There you go. Thank you very much.
Well, thank
Well, thank you so much for
joining us.
talking to me, and
And it's huge. It's just really neat to have you here.
thank you very
Taking
much.
time
And
hey, everybody, until next time, is this great or what?
thank you very much. Thank you for listening, folks. It's been a pleasure. Henry Flagler.